Good morning, guys. How's it going? We got the chat. We got Nominus, Tamale, the Duckin, Mike. How you guys doing? Shanti, Oscar. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, I'm doing much better, man. Thank you. Didn't get very much sleep last night, though. Children, man. All right, so Bitcoin's just been chilling. We're still inside this range. We've confirmed this as a range extension as soon as we got acceptance right here. And like during that moment, basically we'd just add the range, the fixed range volume profile to this pole here. And now we've got like a much larger value area to trade off of. A little bit of distribution, double distribution here. So we have a bit of a B structure. So that kind of tells us that basically when we break this POC to the downside, we'll move quickly to the next volume shelf. Kind of like what you see like right here, where we break that and we fell right down to the volume shelf, but we used it as support and it came back up and moved just as quickly back up. So every time we're here, we can kind of like box this little zone and see that most of the time we'll move quickly between this area. Let's send this order to back. So that can give you kind of an edge in knowing like what kind of trades you should take if your area of confluence is around this area. So it sucks that it's near a POC, but basically, let's say, for example, you ever have a scenario where there's like a volume gap like this, and let's say that the volume gap is like down here, because I'd much rather you be doing longs down here. But if we had to close inside of a volume gap, then you should be thinking like a breakout trader rather than a confirmation trader did on that moment, because we will typically move really quickly to the other side of the volume shelf. So this can give you an edge in scenarios like that. But you prefer that these gaps happen like near the top or near the bottom of value areas, so that like, let's say for example, we have acceptance into the value area and confluence with a candle close inside of a volume gap. Then you just think like a breakout trader, and then the trade usually will go relatively quickly to the next volume shelf towards your target. Here's that. So we just lost momentum at the value area high. We're starting to see descending resistance, and we got a little bit of ascending support here. So we're starting to get a little bit of a squeeze. We're looking at the 5 minute. We can rotate to the 15. Yeah, so we're starting to get a little bit of a squeeze. The apex point would be roughly around here. Like Monday the 19th. So this could suggest that volume is going to start to like die off and dwindle as we start to get squeezed. So yeah, just prepare for a potential low volume weekend because of that. But let's see. Let me just update this poll. The good thing about crypto space is that we normally break out when there's 30% left prior to the apex. It's like roughly around here. Like crypto's an impatient space. In the stock market, you'll see assets all the time make it to their apex point before breaking to the upside or the downside. But we don't ever trade off the break of the trend line. We trade off of the market structure confluence within this. So if we had like a change of character occurrence here, we jump in on the change of character occurrence. We don't jump in just because we broke the trend line. Or else you'll get caught in a fake out most of the time and then hate yourself. But we have 3 buy walls from Anonymous. Sweet. He's doing the TA for us. We got buy wall on 103.4K and 103.2K. On 3.4 and 2. Okay. So we got potential internal undercut right here. So you're seeing it's roughly around this trend line here. So we have other traders already behaving with limit orders as if they're going to trust this level. We'll look at the order books together and see what you're seeing, man. Oh yeah, I can see them clearly. So we have 3 buy walls. One at 3.4, like you said. One at 3.31. And 103.210. About a 600 Bitcoin buy wall at 103.4. Sweet, okay. So right here, that's where the buy wall is that you're talking about. So that's a really good example, actually. Thanks, man, of showing people like how you can kind of like see visually if buyers or sellers are respecting a level. And we can see that there's no sell side confidence, right? But there is buy side confidence. So people aren't really preparing to respect this, but they are preparing to respect this. So this could cause a little bit of a bounce. And then I don't see it lasting very much longer, but we do have more buys lower, right? So lots of people are preparing to buy around this zone. Can we check Ethereum too? Yeah, we can check Ethereum. The like button is free. Thanks, man. I like the VWAP level, the weekly open. Yeah, the VWAP humbled us a couple times the other day. We had a trade here. Let me just zoom out. And jumped in on this candle response here. I believe we were looking at a 15-minute SFP. Not the best spot to look for an SFP, but yeah, we had an SFP right here on this candle. This was the confirming candle. We obviously didn't like the R&R after that close, because you got to watch your initial barrier right here when you're doing an SFP, the most recent high. And so we waited for a pullback. We got in on the pullback, and then we were forced out of the trade early because of the VWAP. So after this response right here, we had to close some of our trade early. And then I let it get stopped out right here in the profit zone, in hopes that we'd break past this zone right here, because we had a really small sell wall, but it looks like there were a lot of market order responses to the VWAP retest. Yeah. Okay, so that is Bitcoin. We're just waiting. We're seeing that we're having an uptrending support that's being honored right now by buy orders. We've got a bit of a squeeze within a squeeze kind of thing. We're starting to build an apex point, so we're coiling up for a move. Normally when this occurs, it's a warning sign that we could leave the value area, but it also depends on the positioning. And the positioning right now is like it's within the value area low, closer to the value area low. So if this breaks to the upside, we might just reach to the other side of the value area again and then continue the range. If it breaks to the downside, then we just be watching our demand zone. But if we break this, then we can prepare for continuation down. But it's kind of like the same thing. You just want to watch, like, no matter which direction it breaks, you watch your barriers, right? We have barriers up here, lots of sellers waiting usually at the top of the value areas, and then we had lots of buyers usually waiting at the bottom of the value areas. So yeah, we'll wait for potential continuations here, and we'll wait for potential continuations right about here at like 104.9. If you get the structure that breaks the upside from here, or get the structure that breaks the downside from there, then that tells you can stay inside your trade. But if we trade off this, let's say we make it to here, we want to have the confluence of breaking the POC for the long and the confluence of breaking the value area low for the short. Okay, so let's see what we have in the chat. So we will have someone asking about Ethereum. So we've got Wagner. Let's see, Ethereum. Okay. All right, we were looking at this potential flag. And it looks like, yeah, this is the level that you'd watch right here when it broke. We had a double bottom. We got the change of character occurrence here. So lots of reasons to enter long and potentially target way up here actually during that moment. But we got to basically this supply concern here, and then we've got a rejection. So this is invalidated. Built more of a descending broadening wedge. We broke to the upside here. We hit a supply concern here, got a negative reaction off it. We're resting near our previous point of control. So we're in a previous large value area right here. If we zoom out, we go to the hourly. Actually, we're going to the 4-hour. You can see it's from the last time we were here. We had like that amazing trade. I don't know if he's going to give us something like that this time, but we got, yeah, so we're behaving off of the previous value area key levels. We got the rejection off the value area high. We're coming down. We're retesting that previous POC. Supply concern. We're still holding uptrending momentum right here. If you're in on any long positions from within this structure, then your stop loss would need to be around here until we break this high again. If we break that high, then we can rotate it below that strong low. But right now it's still technically bullish. We're just in an area of concern right now. We need to have a higher high to continue our way out, and then have the POC on our back to help protect your capital if you're in any long positions. So up here is still an area of interest. That's where most of the liquidity is going to end from this structure. Right, we have resting liquidity here. Here has just been taken. And then our next zone of interest is at 2,690 right here. But it's looking good. Like we just bounced off this. Like this is a high liquidity zone that we marked previously. So we can delete that. Just watch for the warning signs, right? If we get to a higher high, break it low, that's an opposing change of character that can end up having the price action come against you again. Hype, please. I'm assuming you mean the token. Let's see what we got in the chat. I got my POC at 103.730. Enter short because of that. Plus VWAP might have to close. So Oscar, yeah, your POC might be in a different level depending on the chart you are using. Every exchange has slightly different candles because of their liquidity is going to be unique to the exchange. So they might have different unique highs or unique lows or unique internal price action. It's slightly different. That will change where your POC rests. But it shouldn't be so dramatic that like yours is off by about $120 to the upside. Like mine could be off to the downside. Bitstamp isn't the best charting exchange, man. So if you're using something like Bybit, I would trust it over the one that you're seeing on my chart. But you can look at the POC, but really I can look at this level right here, the 103.8 as a potential POC as well, because all it will take is maybe a couple more hours of trading here, and this will change from here to here. So let's just watch all the data that you see here, see where the biggest point of interests are, because they're all going to be potential barriers in your trade, especially if there's confluence or if you see in the order books that there are sellers or buyers reacting off those levels. Kyle, I would appreciate your thoughts on whether FET is bullish or bearish and how low could it possibly go. Let's take a look at FET. Last we looked at was on May 2nd, so 14 days ago. It looks like we were looking at a short out of this valley area. We had like this larger double top, and then it was short-lived. Hit the previous value area high of this little demand zone. I got a red key level here. Let me zoom out, see why I have it so thick there. All right, cool. So for that right now, we broke this downtrending momentum here. This was the big level that we were watching for the macro reversal. So at 55.9, this was like the best time to technically buy if you wanted to go in on a position of strength. Maybe not the best price, but if you wanted to make sure you're in a position of strength to start more of a macro uptrend, this was the moment here. Of course, you could wait. There's confluence down here to enter in early, but that would be a front run to, but this would be something you have to babysit until this broke kind of thing. We're above the 50-day EMA, and we're fighting against the 200-day EMA. So this red line you see on my screen is the 50. The green line is the 200. We bounced off that, had it honored as support, hit the 200, and got rejected, and now we're back at this red key level that we used as support the last time we were here in August 2024. So we had a massive bullish reaction off of that the last time we were here. So really, we're just fighting against the squeeze. We need to get above this 200 here, get that break of structure higher high for that continuation. This is bullish, like super bullish. To answer your question, like this is your key level. Now, if we're preparing for longs, right, this was our key level to watch out for. And what you kind of want to have in your mind is your daily strong lows. And when they break, then you can start turning on your bearish goggles and prepare for longer term shorts. But this level here, we just need to have this hold to increase our probability of having a longer term uptrend. And that level could change. The moment we get the higher high here, this is the level we have to watch out for, right? And you just keep on doing that every single time we get a new break of structure on the daily. And that's like the best way to like manage a swing trade, like a long-term like macro trade. And sometimes those swing trades can turn into what feels like a position trade, and you're in it for like over a year. At least that's the hope, right? That's the goal when you're doing trades like that. The next big area you got to watch out for, well, it's not too big, but you got to watch out for it. We got this supply concern right here. If you get a change of character occurrence in that level, then prepare for a potential reversal. And then the big one would be right here. We got a pull valley area off of that. Oops, I pulled that too far. There we go. You got your value area low. We're gonna press Control, click, drag. All right. So that POC is kind of like the final boss. If we get past this level here at 131.3, then we should pretty much think of it like dropping a marble down a hill. The price action should move relatively quickly until we get to the value area high. So that's kind of like the final boss before we would probably hit around 159. And around 159 might be a good time to prepare to exit some of your position if you're like more of a longer term hold, but depends on what the structure does, right? If you get that posing change of character, it might be good to prepare to take some profits. But right now, everything's still technically bullish. We need to get above the 200 EMA, and then I feel like if we get above the 200, we'll likely hold off of it even when we get inside this bearish confluence zone. We could probably get a rejection off of this, bounce off the 200, and continue our way up. But this, here, we need to get acceptance into this previous value area in order to get that potential continuation to its value area high, and then pretty much meet the target for this downtrending resistance break here. So we got to visualize the order flow, where all the liquidity is. The market makers are coming for the upside liquidity. We can mark the uptrending momentum so we can get the pace of the buyers right here to here. And if we maintain this pace, this gives you an idea of how long it could take. So you can click on your measurement tool from the left to where we currently are. And if your target's up here at 160, you follow along this trend line until you get to 160. And it says it roughly could take 37 days to hit that target if we maintain this pace. If we break this momentum, then the pace will change and that becomes invalid. So I hope that helps you with FET. We can look in the lower time frames if you'd like, see if there's anything there. Low time frames, we broke a double chop structure. We are bouncing around off of this previous demand zone. There we go. That's been pretty much fully mitigated now. So if we come down through here again, we'll probably break right through it. You got downtrending level of interest. Hey, Tradefly, how it's going, man? Thanks for the tip. We are getting squeezed. Here's our apex point here. When we have a squeeze event right like this, and they're basically an asymmetrical kind of format triangle, like we can see that we have like a little bit of uptrending support here as well. Like the pace of the buyers are starting to meet with the pace of the seller. So eventually we're going to find out who is stronger than the other, and then we're going to have our break of that direction. A good way to see that strength visually is to, again, look at the order books. Is there more buyers or is there more sellers? Are we more likely to see those buyers protect the support level against the sellers of the resistance level? So that can give you an additional edge, but again, don't take action on anything unless you get the structural confirmation. But the bias of this posture is technically bearish, but we do have a lot of confluence to hold this up. So again, wait for the structure to define your entry. This is the low of interest. This is the high of interest right here. So if we get structural break off of this and we see support bounce off of it, or break a structure just prior to that break, then you can prepare for a potential long or short. Kyle, in trying to subscribe to InvestiShare, the premium one, is there any code I can plug in, please? Oh, code. We could make one. We can make one together. We'll use your... And last time we did this, it was FreeBreaker with a discount. I think that code is still working. So we could type in FreeBreaker. You'll get 50% off the first month. Here you go. If that doesn't work, then just let me know in the Discord, and then I can maybe create something for you guys. but free breaker should work. There's about 7 left of those codes. Thoughts on ARB? Okay, we got hype was the first request. We'll go to ARB right after hype. HYPE. Hyperliquid. We'll check it out on KuCoin, I guess. Looks like we were on this one before. We just hit the value area high as resistance, or previous value area high. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, it's been a while since we looked at hype. Oh, it wasn't too long ago. We had this. Probably around April. Okay, so hype is getting into an area of interest for potential shorts. So we broke this amazing descending double bottom here, and then we had the confirmation structure right here for the continuation. And like there's a flag here in combination with the double bottom posture, so like we had lots of reasoning to prepare for this target. Like when you're grabbing a flag structural target, you grab from the high to the low of the last time we had consolidation. We didn't really have consolidation with hype before we broke out. We just went straight up. So if we maintained that pace, it gives you the measurable target after the flag breaks. And we just recently hit that target now. So congrats for anyone who took that. That's pretty intense. Some targets like that feel really, really hard to believe. And then crypto always tends to surprise you. Because that, like a target like that, you're looking at 65%. That's nuts. Like I would have a hard time believing that we'd hit that target. But we did. And then we'd have some barrier concerns along the way up, of course, like the value area low. We hit that as resistance here. This supply concern here, we hit the low of it as resistance. Mitigated the entire level after this. And now we're starting to build a evolving momentum here. So the pace of the buyers are speeding up. And what you do in these kind of scenarios when you have evolving momentum against like more broad momentum here, you treat them both as forms of support. Like watch the order book, see if there's buyers alongside this, of course, to validate it. But when one breaks, the other one tends to break shortly afterwards, depending on kind of like the angle of the buyers, like how fast the pace of the buyers. We're likely going to see resistance up here very soon. I think this is pretty much the all-time highs for liquid. So most of the buyers will be in a profit as soon as we get above this value area high. So if we get up there, I'll be waiting for shorts as we grab all that liquidity from up here. And if we have that opposing change of character, then we should be shorting to about $21. So from $26 to $21. And that would just give it a good cool off too, because it's just been sprinting nonstop. Like these consolidative points are really good for resetting exhaustion. But the buyers are still getting more and more into the profit. So that relative unrealized profits is going to cause stress. And then eventually we're going to have that reversal. Awkward seeing like Wyckoff accumulation here in an uptrend like that when it happens. Right now, while we're fighting against the value area high, we do have a double top. We have the confluence of losing the VWAP, so we don't have to worry about the VWAP trying to kick our butt. So I'll mark this as our key level. We have the bodies on the 15-minute time frame at 26.33.4. So if we get a body close below this level, that would be the breakout. I would prefer if we got the higher high before doing that, so that we can have the change of character confluence, because right now our key level for change of character is way down here. So we'd have to watch this. If you jumped in on this break, you'd have to watch this as a barrier along the way down. So I'm hoping that we come up first before we go down. And then maybe we can get an SFP too, because like right here is a really good SFP level that you can watch out for a short. So this will be your body that you'd watch right now. You don't have any structure here yet. And this would be your wick. Okay, so what you want to see, price that can come up, grab that liquidity. The very same candle that grabs that liquidity closes back inside the range here. Right? And then you can jump in on a short, use the wick as your stop loss guard, and then watch any lows that could potentially act as a barrier along the way down. So right now I know that we have this potentially as a low if we break this to go higher in confluence with the VWAP. So this will be, wherever the VWAP is, will likely be a barrier of concern if we jumped in a short for this SFP. And then you want to kind of hope for these continuation breaks and not opposing change of characters to tell you to get out. So I got two things to prepare for there. Did we have the trade hunting call yesterday? No, we didn't have the trade hunting call yesterday. I was sick, man. Sorry. Can we check Fartcoin, guys? We'll go through our list first. That'll be our worst case scenario. We can check that out. So that's hype, man. I hope that helps you out. But that's what I'll be preparing for. Is mostly I'll be short biased right now because of our positioning. Structurally, we're still technically bullish, so we have to wait for that reversal confirmation. We can use the 15-minute to front run like hourly key levels. Just be aware of where those key levels are on the hourly. For example, it's right here. But we'll be watching the 15-minute to prepare for a potential hourly break. And we'd want to have that hourly break for the continuation down to the value area low. So this could be a short-term trade depending on how we behave off the momentum or off this low. Or it could turn into a more of a longer-term trade to target the macro value area low here. But either way, hype's got us set up for two positions there. So what I'd recommend, actually I'm going to clone this chart, make a copy, and we'll call this one hype because this might be a good signal for today when we get close to confirming. There we go. All right, got our clone. Now we can, what I'll do is I'll copy this chart and I'll put it in the chat so you guys could use it if you like. There we go. Oh, wait, that chart won't work yet. Now it should work. I'll double check to see if the link changed or not. No, it didn't change. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's go back to Bitcoin. We got a little bit an undercut to the top of the VWAP here. All right. Thoughts on ARB, right? Let's look at ARB. That looks bullish right here. All right, that's the hourly. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit first. It's been a while since we looked at this. Oh, that's the last time we were looking at it right here. So last time we looked at it, we were hoping for looks like an internal change of character We never broke the level. We're basically getting compressed against the previous support and downtrending momentum. So that would have been a really good form of confluence for a break for a long, but we never got the confirmation. So we never got the trade to enter. Okay, zoom out. We got, like, we can adjust this from here to here. This thing is a really good trend trader's asset, because once you get the contrarian change of character, like the opposing change of character, you tend to move for a long time one direction, like kind of like what Cardano used to be like before it got awkward amount of attention. You have these like really long-term moves. This downtrending resistance from its high to its low, that's 136 days. From this low to this high, 33 days. This high to this low, 240 days. So this thing's like, if you catch the trend, you get the really, like, usually a really good move. And this time we've got our daily change of character occurrence like right here. So this has got our low. We didn't get a proper pullback here, right? So this is all internal. And we got this break here for our actual daily change of character occurrence. So this is the moment where you can see it and feel a lot more confident that things are more bullish. Lots of front run opportunity here, of course, but that was a level that you really wanted to have broken. And we're fighting again. We fought against the 50-day EMA. We're losing against the 200-day EMA. And now we're starting to come down and getting squeezed against that 50-day for potential bounce to the upside here. We have a demand zone here. We had this like impulse move, built a base, another impulse move. So we want to mark that as our potential key level of interest. Okay, visual orders in the back. Right, and then we have our downtrending momentum. Your goal when you're drawing momentum is to get as many touch points as possible and to try your best to stick with the body structure, where the price acceptance is. The wicks are important for knowing where liquidity is, but when you're tracking the pace of the sellers and buyers, it's good to try to fit it to the bodies. So last time we had a low, we built like this inverse head and shoulder structure, and we're starting to get like a messy one right here. Getting a bit of a pullback right now. If we get that higher high break, we'll confirm that inverse head and shoulders posture and potentially have enough momentum to break the momentum. But we're riding off this demand zone. And that's our hourly change of character occurrence. We had our 15-minute already. That could have been a front run to that hourly. Right here. And we broke this level here. So that would have been the best time to enter a long. Stop loss here. Entry off this candle. Our strong low right now is right here. So we need to hold that up, hopefully get a higher high so you can move your stop loss further up, unless you've already gotten out. But yeah, it's looking, ARB is looking bullish. We just need to have this break in order for us to have that change of character occurrence on the hourly. We got a front run on the 15. But this is how you treat internal to higher time frames, right? You look at the higher time frame key levels, and then when you zoom in the lower time frames, you look at, okay, we got a 15-minute change of character, which is a front run to the hourly, right? Like a 3-minute, for example, would be like a front run, or a 5-minute, sorry, would be a front run to the 15. And like a 2-minute would be the front run to the 5. But you always got to watch your barriers along the way, because this is considered a strong high still for the hourly. And this is considered a weak low on the hourly. So on the 15 could be the front run to that, but we just got to be cautious. If we get the opposing change of character on the 15, then we have to assume that the hourly weak low, it's going to be targeted. But yeah, that is ARB. I hope that helps you out, man. It does look bullish, so I'm hoping that we can get that continuation for you. But that 200, whenever we get squeezed between these, the 50 and the 200, I always hate trading between them. It's always messy. Right now, this is looking pretty clean, but sometimes it can get really ping-pongy, and a lot of bots usually react off those EMAs. Let's take a peek at others' dominance for a quick second. I'm curious to see how we progressed this, since I didn't look at the charts really yesterday. So we got our SFP level was here. That was amazing. And then we had a retest this high. We already anticipated that this would act as a form of resistance. We got a relatively harsh reaction to it, though. Built like in a head and shoulders. We got our change of character occurrence here. We got our low, well, not, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Change of character occurrence here. Our fib level retrace off that. Let's see, I'm just curious. Yeah, golden pocket, okay. So basically, if you can see on the other dominance chart that we're like squeezing between the 200 and the 50, that kind of tells you that a massive majority of assets are doing the same thing that are part of the others dominance. We were just looking at that with ARB. So we can kind of use this as well as a confluence guide to kind of give you an idea of like where the flow of money is going. And if this is going up, then that's telling you that a majority of money is going out of anything that's a part of the top 10 and into anything that's not a part of the top 10, basically. So typically like Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coins are going into like the smaller market cap assets. So you can use this confluence to help guide you into knowing when to prepare for, like what kind of bias you should have for the sector that you're trading. And what we want to have is this to break here. If we get 8.24% to break, then a majority of assets that are part of this chart are going to also break to the upside too. So we're in an area confluence to prepare for reversal, but we just need to have that confirmation. And then you should start seeing funds flow more aggressively into the others dominance. Slow moving today, eh? Okay. ARB, Aave, Ruin. I guess we'll look at Fartcoin for the deer. Let's see what we got, man. Look at Binance. Yeah, so yeah, Fartcoin's just like a regular fart. Heat's rising right now. We're getting higher and higher. This macro uptrend here has been honestly pretty good. 19 cents to $1.27. So this must have a low supply because this is a pretty low market cap. So it must be easy for it to move in price based on supply. We're mitigating a previous supply concern. We're using it as support right now. So let's look at the local price action here. Let's zoom in on the hourly. We'll pull a fixed range. In lower time frames, it's looking bullish. We've got a demand zone here holding it up. Send this to back. So here we got our impulse move up, built a base, another impulse move just prior to consolidation. So this became the demand zone, like the area of interest the moment we had the opposing change of character up here. So here we're bouncing off it right now. We have downtrending momentum right here. Let's zoom in on the 15-minute. Let's see if we can find a low area of interest. Right now it's actually way up here. So hopefully we'll get like another lower low. Because if we get that lower low, we'll have the confluence of this level being the change of character, breaking the momentum, getting acceptance into the value area, and breaking the VWAP. So honestly, that would be an amazing trade if we got the lower low. Grab all that liquidity first. Maybe prepare for an SFP here. There's like a 15-minute SFP level right here. So if that breaks, watch the liquidity below the wick. Again, what you want to see, price action get below this level, but grab the liquidity and close back up in here before, all in a single candle, right? Then we can get that SFP. The SFP would target this high. And then if this high breaks, then you can stay in for the continuation. Because we had all those confluences, like I said before, the VWAP, the value area low, the change of character occurrence if we got the lower low, and a breakup momentum. So again, that'll be a really good area of interest. All right, cool. All right. So that is Fartcoin. I hope that helps you out. Let's take a look at Aave for Duckin. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. I don't know if I have an Aave chart already. I don't. Okay. Search Aave. Let's go check it out on Binance. A strong uptrend, but it's looking kind of weak now. Let's mark our level here really quick. Let's zoom out on the daily. All right, yeah, this was the killer trade down here. And when we bounced off that legacy support, I took a long and it did really fucking well. Not in it anymore, but we got, yeah, so we bounced off legacy support. Shortly afterwards, we broke downtrending momentum that's been holding it down since $400. We basically had the market cap get cut down, 64%, 70% total. That's wild. And now we're recovering it all back up. Ever since this low to this high, we're up. We doubled our price. We're starting to see the 200 EMA and the 50-day EMA begin to potentially cross. So we'll get a golden cross soon. Lots of traders behave off of those crosses. We can tell that Aave has relative strength to the other dominance chart. So it's kind of standing out against other assets a part of that group. So we want to look for assets like this, the ones that are exceeding the expectations of the others dominance chart. Because if they are, that's telling you that there's more interest involved in this asset than there are than the majority of assets a part of the others dominance. We have a supply concern here, but this is big enough to actually mark a value area off of. So you want to see acceptance inside this value area. So we get this previous value area low. Let's look at the behavior of the volume. Well, it's relatively balanced. So once you get the acceptance in the value area, we should have a pullback off of this volume shelf to retest it in the lower time frames. to give us that acceptance to hopefully continue up to here. But if we get like a double top structure, then obviously we'll fail and come back down. So I'll mark the value area high here. And I'll mark the previous point of control here just to repair. But right now we're using that value area as resistance. I'm trying to get acceptance in the lower time frames, but I don't know if we'll get it. So here, what kind of behavior you could potentially prepare for, like the pathing suggests, like, you know, we're losing this, we're getting like a bit of a rounded top, so not very many confidence in the buyers. We had a retest before trying to get into there. So if we break this level, we'll have a change of character. So I'm assuming we're probably gonna get a bounce off the VWAP, pull back to hit that value area low again, and then likely create a head and shoulder structure. We have the VWAP confluence of that break, the confluence of the previous value area low acting as resistance. We can mark our demand zones along the way down to prepare for potential reversals. We have a tiny one here. We mitigated about more than half of it. So we might see a little bit of chug along price action a little bit before dropping down. But here is a zone of interest. We got a 15-minute order block, an impulse move from there. And I'd mark this low as well. Pull a fib from the low to the high. And our gold pocket is in confluence with the low side of this area of interest. There we go. But yeah, that is Aave. It's looking more bearish than bullish, unfortunately. Okay. Ruin from Oscar. So let's look at Ruin. Binance. Zoom out on the hourly, daily. Okay, so this is fitting into the narrative of the others dominance pretty well. We're getting squeezed between the 50 and the 200. We broke the macro momentum here. We drew that a little while ago. Looks like we were preparing for longs here. And that would have been a great long if you took it. Let's zoom in as to why, though. Let's see. Why were we preparing? What is that? Oh, I see. Okay. 15-minute change of character level. Bounced off the 50, got the change of character. Double topped off the value area low. So that was short-lived. But yeah, we built a massive double bottom against that ascending support. We've just been going parabolic ever since. So yeah, this previous value area high here is a big key area, 179.5. Could head our way down there. We have a little bit of a regression trend here that could be honored as a form of support. There could be residual buyers waiting at that key level. I would be marking this as an entire value area though, from here to here. And see which areas have the most volume for key levels of support. Because it basically it's just showing you that this could be, these highs might not be honored as a form of support. Right? We could just fall right down to this value area high. So we're gonna mark this as well along the way, just in case we break through this value area high. We'll probably fall right down to this other previous value area high here. We have consolidative level here, pull our fixed range. This thing does not like to do full rotations with this value area. So take that into account if you're like a value area trader. That lately this thing is barely respected. It's not very good at range bound trading, basically. It's a good trend trader asset, that's for sure, but maybe not so much a range trader asset. If you get a lower low, this will be our key level here. But again, just be careful trading this thing. With the way we responded to the POC, it might be best to wait for that POC to break, unless we got like more structure down below the value area. I prefer to wait for longs around 179.5 with a change of character occurrence. Then you'd have to watch the value area low as resistance, but once you get that acceptance, then you can stay in for potential targets to the value high. Just be very careful around this POC. Got a massive rejection off it last time we were here. And we have an order block there, so there's residual orders likely still there, people trying to get out. Bitcoin slowly falling down, very slowly. 100x leverage on the likes. Thanks, man. What is the volume candle indicator you are using? I've got two indicators for volume. This is the fixed range volume profile here. If you're talking about this one, this is Trader's Reality or Trader's Main. So you just search up Trader's Reality Main here. I recommend favoriting this one, especially if you guys have like a lower plan on TradingView, because this thing has a bunch of indicators built into it. So it could save you indicator space. So if you have a limited amount of indicators based on your plan that you chose with TradingView, that's a good one to have. You have all your EMAs, you have your daily open, your weekly open, your daily close, all that stuff. Psychological levels, your sessions, it's all built in. But I removed all that and just kept the candles. It basically shows me, like for example, this green candle is telling me that it has more volume than the previous 14 candles. Same with this red one. But one closed bearish and one closed bullish. That's the difference between why it would close with that color. The blue ones are vector candles. They're usually reclaimed very shortly after they're created. Right? So you could use that as confluence to prepare for a retest. So if you have a breakout, right, and then you have a vector candle during that breakout, then you can use that as a guide saying, okay, we're probably going to come back down to reclaim that whole zone like we did here, like we did here, like we did here, right? So those vector candles can help you with those kind of retest levels. Or if you have lack of trust in a break, it's helpful too. But yeah, I hope that helps you out, man. I recommend it. It's a good tool to see the volume displayed right on your candles. It's great for confluence when you see a large amount of volume coming in the same time you have a break of structure or a change of character. It's a good time to know when not to trust a certain move with these like vector candles. Like sometimes they're usually reclaimed, so it's very easy to write rules off of them. I don't have rules based off of them. I just like to know what's going on in the background. If you want to have real evidence of what's going on in the background, then I'd recommend like footprint candles. Like exo charts is a good one. Deep charts is not out yet, but in about 2 months it'll be released to the public. So I'd recommend deep charts when that comes out. When you realize the last 4 years have been consolidation zone. Yeah, well, it feels like it. Well, 80% of the market ranges. So like Doge back in the day from Whiteman here. I am all in on Ethereum. Contractual issuance on real world assets makes sense. Yeah, like Ondo is a great asset to choose for stuff like that. Anything that has a good real world impact, like Chainlink. Like Chainlink is my second biggest bag this cycle. Then Ethereum is my second and my third. I think Ondo is way up there too. Like HBAR is great. Request to look at SUI. Let's take a look at SUI. Okay, so we broke downtrending momentum on SUI. We went below our little demand zone. Oh yeah, SUI did. I tried doing a long recently. We had really good confluence for a long. But the same day that we had to cut our short or our long on Bitcoin short, we had to close early on that one. It's the same day that we kind of got humbled by the VWAP with SUI. And the VWAP had a sell wall here, but it was relatively weak. We had a large sell wall here that got destroyed, and that's when I felt more confidence in jumping in. And then one appeared on the VWAP, and we mitigated the entire sell wall pretty much here. But then we came back and hit it, double topped off of the residual sell orders, and then plummeted much further down. And we were targeting the value area high because we had lots of confluence. Downtrending momentum break, change of character occurrence off the value area low. All was looking good. But now we came down, we grabbed, looks like this is my liquidity marker. So at 371, we mitigated all that liquidity. We have a separate value area here. But really what we really want is to have the higher high break a structure to confirm this value area acting as support for that acceptance. So then we can get that rotation up to at least the POC, potentially the value area high. Because we get that higher high, we should be mitigating all the liquidity that's stacked, right? We have stacked liquidity here, here as well, and here. So if we looked at the heat maps for SUI, like this would look like a huge zone of interest. So it might be safe just to wait for that retest. Let's see what we have. Let's go over here on SUI. Symbol. All right, got the SUI chart open. I'm curious to see how long we're here for. This is 2 days, so we need to look at least 2 days on the liquidity heat map. So let's pull up the 3-day chart. Yeah, so 396. It's a huge zone of interest. 396. Actually, let's look at the decimal too, sorry. 396.9, okay. $3.969. Okay. So that's where a massive majority of liquidity is resting right now for SUI. So your bias as a market maker would be long. The market maker would try to build structure to influence retail to bring the price to here so they could use this as exit liquidity. So preferably, if you're going to be jumping in on longs, you'd want to do it on the lower side around here. Look for maybe the confluence, like a break momentum, change of character occurrence at the value area low around this zone would be the best time to prepare for a long to hopefully front run this break, because this could be used as exit liquidity. You don't want to be jumping in on something like that and then end up having market makers exit on you and use you as liquidity. But yeah, that is SUI for us. Preparing for longs again. Just got to be patient for a better picture to be painted for us. We got the uptrending support here, so just prepare for a potential undercut. Probably won't be dipping down too low after we get to this value area low, or if we get to the value low. We could have that change of character occurrence happen like now, and then rotate to the value area high again, but you wouldn't really want to take that. Or else you'll have to be babysitting your trade pretty much through, like immediately after it confirms. So you increase your odds, you want to wait for something around here. What I like to do in these kind of zones is I'll mark like a little triangle area of preparation. This would be a big area of interest here for longs. So that's SUI. Caspa, what's up, man? Ciao. Or Chayu, sorry. Caspa, let's take a peek at Caspa, man. Last we looked at it was 2 days ago. And we marked that high. We got, okay, so Caspa right now, we're trying to get acceptance back inside of this valley area here that we were in for, I think, 400 days. Let's see. Yeah, 450 days before we left it here. That's pretty intense. So if we get the Caspa in this range, guys, is so ridiculously predictable. It's insanely predictable. So like if we get back inside that range and we behave the same way we did in that range before in the past, it's kind of like heaven, honestly. These are like 40% swings, like 40% to the downside, 60% to the upside. Like they're insane. So if you only capture like half that percentage, and you're just doing this in the spot trading environment, buying low, selling high, buying low, selling high, just wait for the momentum to break and the change of character. And it does a really good job at giving you that full rotation to the value area high and to the value area low. And this was like a cool off period for Caspa because it's been on a run ever since its creation, which is normally not common. Like most of the time, asset creators do a really poor imbalancement of liquidity versus like how much they cast out with their ICOs. And Caspa did not make that mistake, so we don't have to worry about it going in a forever downtrend or to find its value after an ICO. So here, let's delete this. We have our measurable hit on that. We lost uptrending evolving momentum here. This is our broad momentum here. We can get rid of this. We can pull, we can get rid of that too. Pull a fixed range from here to here. So this is our macro valley area low. This is our macro point of control. We're dancing around the point of control in the macro, so we tend to go range bound or see rejections or support bounces off of POCs. We lost the downtrending momentum within the valley area. Our change character level. Trying to see if we got that lower low. The low is 0.114. Oh, okay, they're equal lows. Okay, cool. Interesting. At least on this exchange. So even if one exchange got the lower low, then that would be a change of character occurrence. It's equal low, so it's up here. We need to have the internal break of structure here, get above that POC. And then we can see that rotation up to the value high. At least locally. Right here. And that could give us the continuation. We have a more of a broad momentum level here that you could watch. Yeah, so that gives that continuation up and finally give us that higher high from here to then maybe eventually get that rotation to its more macro value area high here at 1619. But yeah, right now it's chilling, it's cooling off, it's squeezing just like Bitcoin is. The apex point on Caspa is much sooner than Bitcoin's. Like Bitcoin's is the 19th, and on Caspa it's the 17th. So we should expect a more higher volume move from Caspa before we have a move on Bitcoin. And that could tell us relative strength in the altcoin space. If we see that more often in alts, that their apex is closer, then that could tell us that we might have some relative strength with alts soon. So we might see them run up again against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance start to come down a little bit more. If we zoom in on Bitcoin dominance, we're at 62.88. Let's zoom out on the hourly. We lost the evolving momentum here at 64.7, and we lost the 50 EMA. We lost the more macro broad momentum here. That's been holding it up since 60.42. And kind of like it's doing kind of the opposite of what you're seeing on the others dominance. Like, right, others dominance is coming up, being squeezed between the 200 and the 50, whereas Bitcoin dominance is coming down, getting below the 50, heading towards the 200. So they're being literally polar opposites right now. So if alts keep maintaining their pace to the upside, and CAS does break this to the upside while Bitcoin still coils inside of its structure, then this should start to come down, likely break that low. But then you have to prepare around the 200 EMA here, like around the time Bitcoin gets to 60.92%. Use that as confluence to prepare for potential longs on Bitcoin and for alts to start to potentially dump or consolidate at least. So we have this. This is a confluence zone to prepare for potential longs on Bitcoin and alts to slow down a bit. All right. What else do we have in the chat? Making coffee. Yeah, I'm seeing a squeeze. Got it. Cool. All right, man. You like the blue and purple candles? Morning, Mr. Kyle. Can you please share your thoughts on Aave? Okay, we went over Aave. We can look over Algo. And I'll do my regular warning about Algo. Where is... There's Algo. Last time we looked at Algo was May 9th. We double topped off of this rising wedge resistance. Oh, yeah. Got our inverse Batman over here. So it looks like the last time we were looking at Algo was here. I drew a little scribble preparing for the inverse head and shoulders, break of downtrending momentum off the uptrending point of interest, like this uptrending momentum, right? To like fully know that this was being honored as momentum, you'd want to have that change of character occurrence. We got that with inverse head and shoulders. So congrats for anyone who took that. It was a little while ago since we spoke about it, but now we hit this area of interest here. We had a really awkward SFP right here on this candle. Let me zoom in for anyone who can barely see it. So this was the body that you'd watch, right? You'd want to have a candle come up, grab that wick, and close below that body. And that's what we got right here. You'd be targeting this low. So your R&R would not be worth it. I wouldn't even take that. But yeah, we're on our way down to that uptrending point of interest. I would watch the order books for Algo. If you're trading this in the spot trading environment, just be cautious with your limit orders and your stop losses. because every time they do a rebalance on their protocol, it will remove your limit orders and remove your stop losses if you're doing this in the spot environment. In the futures environment, you don't have to worry about that because you're dealing with contracts. You're not dealing with the actual asset. You're just buying contracts from other traders and selling contracts to other traders when you're trading in the perpetuals environment. But in the spot environment, most centralized exchanges will honor Algorand's protocol, so just be aware of that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to make sure you understand the tokenomics of every asset that you trade. But yeah, it is positioned to prepare for a break to the downside. Like, we're in an uptrend, and while we maintain this uptrend, then awesome, right? We got to break these higher highs before we can go up, obviously. But while we're in the structure, typically we do statistically break to the downside. It's like a 60% increased chance of breaking to the downside. And it's mostly because of the behavior of how liquidity is being taken, right? Taken, but being added to the downside, not taken to the downside. So our market makers like to go after liquidity. But right now, internally, let's zoom in on the 4 hour and see how we're doing. We've got like a bit of a double bottom structure forming. Our neckline's right here. It's not our change of character neckline, I don't think. Okay, we got our change of character currents here. So we already have our change of character. This is our strong low. So this technically internally it's already bullish on the hourly. So statistically we should be rotating our way back up. We have that value area low right in our face. So there's good confluence there to wait. So we're already bullish on the hourly. So we just need to have, I would say, wait for the break of this neckline on algo. If you want to be safe, wait for the retest. But we already have a strong low here, right? So you can use this as your stop loss guard. So preferably we get, like maybe we get this higher high right here, and then you can use this as your stop loss guard. It's not as good invalidation point as this, but yeah, if we break that, we're very likely just gonna come down to hit here anyways. So why we preparing for it like this. It's a 1 to 2 based on this entry point right here. But yeah, be patient. Wait for that break. The acceptance into the value area basically is what we need to have. All right, cool. So that's Algorand. Bitcoin just still chugging along the slowest it possibly can. We're heading towards that point of interest here. We're at 103.4 for that buy wall. Let's see if the buy wall is still there. You always want to keep a little eye on it just in case we have a non-intentional fill. Like a non-intentional fill, by the way, it's like when you have a buy wall, but it could be done by a single actor, like an institution, and then they pull it on you to like give you that false sense of support. But the buy wall is definitely smaller. We have about 800 Bitcoin there. And then our next one's at 103.3 for about 600 Bitcoin, just under 600. It's only $100 lower. So we have, this is the undercut, and then we have about 600 here as well. So definitely people trying to catch the knife and not waiting in the order books there. It could just be the market makers also trying to influence the market to squeeze, to induce more liquidity above us, or potentially below us too. Could be Bitcoin dominance dropping because liquidity flowing into Ethereum, especially from BlackRock. Yeah, definitely, man. So like, if we look at the total 3 is up 1.21%. Others dominance is up 1.23%. So we have reasoning to believe that there's funds going into Ethereum as well. Bitcoin dominance is down. Stable coins is slightly down. So it's showing us that there's more funds flowing out of Bitcoin, out of stables, and into. But the total 3 is up, and Bitcoin's a part of that total 3. So, yeah, man, definitely reasoning to believe that there's money flowing into Ethereum. If you look at Ethereum's price action too, like it's been on a roar, right? We broke this macro downtrend momentum, we broke the internal momentum, and ever since we've been kind of sprinting. Right, we've just been nonstop running up. We're at a huge area of interest right now for it to go range bound, though. Like, this is a massive area of interest. So I think that Ethereum might need to, chill out a little bit, or else it's going to have unsustainable pump, and the RUP chart's going to reflect that, and then we're going to see a lot of sell pressure. We kind of want Ethereum to relax a little bit in this zone as much as possible to give it that good reset to allow it to climb more sustainably. But BlackRock isn't the only one buying Ethereum right now. Like the Trump family is buying it like crazy. We're watching their wallets. They're constantly buying. Lots of institutions buying Ethereum right now. So, but Bitcoin's still the boss. I think Bitcoin has a lot of pairing liquidity with Ethereum, so Bitcoin still has quite a bit of control over its price action. But you can see that there are times where that correlation breaks short term, just like how Bitcoin does once in a while with the stock market, with the S&P. So I think I've gone through everyone's requests here in the chat. We've gone through. Oh, we didn't go through BGB. So let's take a look at that. Sorry for missing there, man. BGB. Is that a DEX token? Yeah, it is a DEX. It's BitGets token. Oh, not DEX, sorry. It's CEX token. Okay. Double top forming. We broke full body close below the neckline already. It's not a change of character occurrence, but we got a fair value gap here. So I would wait for a potential, just increase your odds with shorts. It's usually best to wait for a bounce to get a good stop loss guard, especially since we have a fair value gap here. We can mitigate some of that and then come down. Zone of interest right here. And we have more macro here. Really good spot to prepare for shorts based on the local price action. Just watch this asset because it's very wicky. It wicks a lot, so it can knock you out of the race before you want to be knocked out. So we have tons of confluence to prepare for a short. We're at a value area high. We're building a double top. We mitigated these highs here, grabbed the liquidity from those highs, and began this reaction of a double top after that. So yeah, if we get what I would wait for is potential like retest or pullback, then lower low. You get that acceptance in the value area, then you can start charting the rotation down, but watch out for this little micro demand zone. It's not very strong demand zone, but it's still there. And the big area of interest is 84.67. So we'll pull that zone here. Get rid of this. Pull a fib from this low to this high. Lots of confluence here. So we have the value area low, 76, POC here. We have a volume gap here, so price action should move quickly after support bounce. So yeah, this will be your target zone for this short. And in this zone as well, it will be a good area of confluence to prepare for longs. So yeah, now let's zoom out a little bit, see what it looks like on large time frames. Oh, this thing's been on a run too. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah. Thing's been nonstop running. We're resting off of the, we bounced off the 200 EMA. We got above the 50. They're squeezing right now, trying to cross, but we need a lot of distance away to allow these two to cross. We have like a more macro double bottom neckline here on the daily. This is our daily strong high. Let's mark our body levels though. And that's what we're fighting against right now. I would mark the wick here. Very important, because this is where a large amount of liquidity is, and you can prepare for a potential like really strong SFP if it were to occur. If that were to confirm, oh man, those are honestly the best to ever short. Those daily SFP levels usually create really strong rotations up. But if we get a full body close, like above this wick, then that will invalidate that. And I would make sure you mark it too, like when you're zooming in the lower time frames, like what your levels are. So you don't get confused if you're zooming in on your chart. So like daily body neckline. And daily SFP wick. Oh. All right, cool. But that is BGB. I hope that helps you out. So prepare for a potential daily SFP. There's one trade set up there. Prepare for the potential confirmation for this double top. Target these lows. Watch out for the POC along the way. Watch out for like 487, which is the key area of interest for this consolidative point. But yeah, and prepare for longs down here if you don't like to short. But that is BGB. It looks like it's ready for a couple of good setups. You just got to be patient, sit on your hands for a little bit and wait for them to confirm. We're getting that pullback a little bit here like we were kind of hoping for. So we get like a good 2 candle pullback and then a lower low. You can use that potentially as a stop loss guard. Might as well use the VWAP as your stop loss guard if you get that kind of lower high there. So you can have that additional protection because a lot of traders react off of the VWAP. But yeah, so yeah, important to wait for that. Yeah, please wait for that confirmation. Don't just jump in a short because we have all those confluences. We still need that confirmation because this could turn into a flag and then just continue up and then give us that daily SFP that we were worried about. But yeah, that's BGB. We looked at Aave. We can look at theta for Caliphant. How do you get that map on CoinGlass? From Brett Dart. Which map, man? We've got this map here. We got here. I'll put the link in there for you. It's free to use, but it's very easy to use as well. You just choose symbol whenever you want to switch to a different asset. And you just choose pair. It'll automatically go to Bitcoin or Ethereum. And then here is your time frames. You look at the age of your range or the age of your formation to determine the time frame you look at for your liquidation heat map. Sir Cretan, we already looked at Aave, so you can look back if you like. I do got to head out soon, so I can't dive into that again. Theta, what's the other request? I believe we have a Theta chart. Let's look at Theta. We do. Last time we looked at it, though, was April 29th. Oh, I was preparing for 100x strategy on Theta too, but the win rate on it wasn't great. We have... Okay, we had area marked here for confluence of a short. Yeah, it looks like we double topped off of this. Yeah, we had our change of character occurrence here. We pulled back a little bit, didn't lose the strong high. Kind of built like a head and shoulders posture, probably in the lower time frames. You'd probably see like a head and shoulders. Zoom in. You can see here, it's awkward, but yeah. Let me just zoom out again really quick. It kind of gives me cubic vibes. We've had let me zoom out a little further on the weekly. Man, this thing has gotten its butt kicked. So it went to $16. This is probably an asset that's worth checking out the tokenomics for, to see if maybe it has a large form of inflation that could be suppressing the price from going higher. So that might be worth looking at really quick. And then I'll definitely have to head out. So we have, let's go to CoinMarketCap. And we're looking at Theta. If I can type, my gosh. There we go, Theta Network. What indicator is that labels the SFP on its chart? It's just a horizontal array. So go over here, just type in horizontal, look up your horizontal array where you'd find your trend lines. You just click. You find the bodies, and then you can adjust it. I put dashed lines for wicks, dotted lines for like value area key levels, dashed lines that are descending and uptrending in white that are momentum. Sometimes I change things around. Like it's been a while since like last year I was doing it differently. This is last year's trend lines. But yeah, so Theta right now is testing, trying to get acceptance back inside this previous value area here. And if we broke momentum, and we are trying to expect rotation to its value high. There's a supply concern right here. They can see on, this is the weekly time frame. So let's zoom in on the daily. That's pretty much where the liquidity is ending right here for this downtrending momentum. So here you can target up here at around 150. It could take a little while to get up there. The momentum right now is kind of sluggish. So if we look at the momentum, we don't have evolving momentum yet. We have this broad momentum. So if we maintain based on the broad momentum, it could take 158 days. I don't think it'll take that long. I think if we get that break of structure, we'd have that evolving momentum, and then we can start looking at the momentum there and see what kind of expectation we can have for a target. It could enhance the speed of the pace of the buyers and showing us that we could get that rotation up faster. But well, so far we hit that supply, the local supply concern, and we're pulling back. We broke our key levels down here. The last time we looked at it, this was a key level for a long. Then we came back here. This is our key level for continuation. We got that continuation, really strong move to that supply concern. And now we really badly just need to have that pullback and higher high for that continuation soon. We have like a potential inverse head and shoulders behavior. So if we look at the low of the left shoulder, we can anticipate that price action could come down to this low again. You can watch the order books to see if there's any buyers waiting there. I'll just mark this as local support. But yeah, I think that this one's definitely worth looking at the tokenomics for, to see if there's any inflation. So we have the total supply is 1 billion. The max supply is 1 billion. Okay, so there shouldn't be very much inflation on this. So just the interest itself is getting lower. All right, so yeah, theta's just getting a lot less interest. So I'll just behave as if we'll be targeting 142 for continuations on theta. If you're holding this, that's where I would be targeting for a potential exit. If you find support off this, then awesome. Then maybe it'll go wild again like it did last time. The last 2 times it exited this area. And Bitcoin got the proper slap off the VWAP there. Okay. My brain isn't working. The order book on CoinGlass. Okay, I gotcha. So the reason why you're struggling with finding the order book on CoinGlass is because you cannot find it through their nav bar. It's not there. So do not lose this link. Like, bookmark this link, because I can't find it and there's no pathing to it at all. So, and you can't even search it in their search engine. It's like they don't want people using it. I'm working on building my own version of this, by the way, to include more exchanges. Yeah, still have those buy orders. So yeah, just watch. We have lots of buyers between 103.4 and 103.2 with a large amount of confidence too. So they're all just basically targeting these wick. We have buy order here, buy orders here, buy orders here. It's all basically, it all starts with an undercut off this uptrending point of interest, and then guarding this low. So something is guarding these lows right now. It could be a market maker. It could just be retail looking at this trend line. But we do know that we have makers, not takers, waiting in that zone. All right, cool. Well, I gotta go, guys. I had a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for the messages, like looking through assets. Like sometimes you guys will have me look at an asset and it finds not money just for myself, but like for the community too. Because if we can't take the trade during the live, then I'll usually just give it as a signal. This algo trade looks good for a potential long to its local value high. We've got CAS squeezing, retesting off the downtrending momentum internally. Got to get the higher high to break past the POC to get that rotation to its local value high. We've got hype looking good for a potential SFP right here. So if we come up, grab that liquidity, close back inside, that's a really good SFP setup to target these lows here. Like watch the VWAP along the way down. You want to have this broken for the continuation down. If we get that SFP, that'll turn this into a strong low, and then that would also give you the change of character confluence for a potential further rotation down to this uptrending momentum line here. We've got Ethereum trying to maintain this uptrend here. We just had a recent rejection off this the sell short confluence zone here that we got marked. We have the VWAP and confluence with the momentum. So I've got a hopeful feeling that we just maintain this pace and then go towards our target for this descending broadening wedge here. We've got SUI kind of bouncing earlier than we've hoped, because right now it's internally inside of a valley area and it's not really fun trying to trade for longs or anything around these areas. If you're in a short, this is a warning to potentially prepare to exit your short, but we do have this supply risk here that could keep the price down. But down here is where I would want to prepare for longs for SUI. Right now it's a little bit too late unless you got in on this SFP candle right here. You can have your stop loss guard here. You could rotate it up to here now. You could potentially, if you entered here, you can have your stop loss right at your break-even point. But yeah, watch out for this target here if you're in that SFP. The FET, yeah, FET wasn't very interesting, but it is squeezing. We gotta prepare for the break of this high for potential continuation up to this high. We gotta prepare for the break of this low right now, but if we get the higher high, then there'll be this low. But right now, this is the key of interest. We have the momentum here. There might be a front run opportunity, but yeah, if we break to the downside, I'll just be targeting this momentum here. Not very much like stuff that I actually would want to trade there. I prefer to try to trade the long and target the 200 EMA, but watch out for the supply concern here. So FET is getting squeezed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, guys, have yourself an amazing day. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for everyone who's subscribed. We're starting to grow again. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, share it to your friends if anyone you know might be struggling with trading. I love answering questions to like young traders trying to figure this stuff out. But yeah, have yourself an amazing day, and thanks for watching.